Since the RLCS Worlds is under a month away, no team out of the 16 qualified teams have more hype around them winning the tournament than G2, and there's some good reasons why. They haven't missed a grand final all season long, and they just won the last major that happened nearly 2 months ago on EU soil. However, though the odds of winning are high for G2 this year, this is G2 we're talking about. They've only won the major twice in their 8-year history in RLCS, with their first win coming in the 2021-22 season in the Winter Major, where G2 won in a failed bracket reset attempt by the red-hot Queso team that won every single series up to that point after coming second in their group. 2 spots away from the team we're going to be focusing on today. No, believe it or not, we're not going to be talking about G2, Queso, or even a major winning team for that matter. Today, we will be touching on the story of how DeToNator made it to this major, because their journey to the major almost didn't happen at all. Before I start, please subscribe and like if you enjoyed this video. I'm trying to hit 1,000 subs by October 5th, and if I don't, then I quit content creation entirely. Anyway, with that out of the way, I hope you enjoyed the video. Let's first rewind a bit back to the 3rd APAC North Regional Tournament during the RLCS 2021-22 season. Let me set the scene for you. Going into this tournament, there's a close fight for the top 2 APAC North spots, with those top 2 teams qualifying for an APAC qualifier, where they face off against the 2 best teams from the APAC South in a double elimination tournament, with only 1 team making it out alive and qualifying for the Winter Major in LA. Those teams being Tokyo Verdy, NIMT, and DeToNator, fighting for those 2 spots in the APAC North. DeToNator is the only one of the 3 without a regional win. They would have to win Regional 3 to overtake NIMT in the standings to make the qualifier in 2nd place. Any other result would mean the end of their tournament life until the spring. And in Regional 3, they had a good chance of doing so, winning their group, and they beat NIMT in Game 7 OT to set a date with Tokyo Verdy in the upper bracket final, where they would sadly fall in Game 7, sending them to the lower bracket final against guess who? NIMT. With DeToNator leading the series 3-1, if they can win one more game in this best of 7 series, they will make it to the final with a chance at making the Unfortunately though, fate would have it that they couldn't hold this 3-1 lead in the series and lost in Game 7 in a near reverse sweep, which qualified both NIMT and Tokyo Verdy to the APAC qualifier before the final was even played. For many other teams, this would be a shot in the gut. The feeling of being so close to greatness but losing it at the last chance you had. And it would be a long wait for this team to return to RLCS, because the next event would happen 3 months after this one, which honestly speaking is much better than the wait that we have right now. So it would be back to the drawing board to see if DeToNator can make a push in the spring split. I mean, you thought the video was ending here? To the shock of everyone, RL Esports tweeted the news that NIMT couldn't compete in the international major because they just weren't able to make it. Meaning they couldn't compete in the APAC qualifier and gave their spot to the next team up, which, guess who, was DeToNator. DeToNator just got a chance that not a lot of teams would get after being eliminated in their 3rd regional. But their chances of making the major were pretty much at the same level as the APAC South team which both are solid teams but have never won a regional, compared to the near perfection in Tokyo Verdy, which already has an RLCS win under its belt, and perfection in Gaming Gladiators, which had not lost in their region for the entire split. And they will be the DeToNator's first opponent of the APAC qualifier, with the winner moving on to the winner's bracket final. Things did look promising at the start of the series, with Olpix scoring this long shot with 13 seconds left to take Game 1. However, they would lose the next 3 games and be sent down to the lower bracket, meaning they're going home if they fail again. Their next matchup in the lower bracket is who suffered a fate similar to DeToNator's in the upper bracket, losing 3-1 against Tokyo Verdy. Though both of these teams had similar fates, DeToNator was the better team at the end of the day, as they dominated on the attack and took the series in Game 3 overtime.
Tom, Glossy can't get the touch, but oh my word,
surely
Squiggly can, but only once, not twice.
Sending packing and DeToNator to the lower bracket final against the same team that sent them to the lower bracket after they got reverse swept by Tokyo Verde. Unlike their first meeting at the beginning of the tournament, these two teams come from different situations. One is coming off of a sweep, oozing with confidence, and having all the momentum in their favor. At the same time, on the other side, there's a team that was one game away from securing themselves a spot in the final, but instead folded under the pressure, getting reverse swept by one of the best teams in APAC, which for most teams would shatter their confidence completely. Though on paper it looked like DeToNator would have the upper hand, people, including the casters, thought the Gladiators' talent would still win out at the end of the day.
Both these teams want to be in the grand final. Both these teams
okay,
want to
then
go
pick
the entire
DeToNators.
way.
If you want.
No, I'm not going to predict the DeToNators.
And in the first game of the lower bracket finals, it looked like that was the case as the Gladiators stormed their way to a 4-0 lead in game 1, putting DeToNator in a chokehold in the first 2.5 minutes of the game. Then DeToNator came crawling back for the rest of the game, started to adapt more to the Gladiators, looking like a completely different team that was taking their chances, scoring 3 unanswered goals to end the game on a sour note for the Gladiators. Even though the Gladiators would go on to win that first game, they would take this newfound form to game 2, where they would be in a stalemate till there was 2 minutes and 16 seconds left when LCT hit this nasty flip reset on their heads to give the lead to the Gladiators. This lead would hold till Burn scored from an impossible angle to tie the game with 34 seconds left, sending it to overtime, where after over a minute in overtime, Burn would come in clutch again, snagging game 2 off the hands of the Gladiators. Now in game 3, this game went back and forth with a 3-3 scoreline heading into the final minute of the game. Then the Gladiators pounced as Maxu and Chaotix connected off of a defensive error from Burn, giving the Gladiators the win and the advantage in the series and putting the DeToNators' backs against the wall. Now going into game 4, DeToNator had to win the next 2 games to send themselves to the grand finals. Now I couldn't tell you what kind of talk Coach Noonki had with his teammates after that game, but the result of it was definitely something that nobody expected. Yes, your eyes don't deceive you. They scored a damn near Brazil in game 4, extending this series to the champions field. Gladiators didn't have a chance after scoring their only goal in the 3-minute and 42-second mark, which leads us to game 5. Winner go home. The winner goes against the Kings of APAC in the grand finals. And it was almost a similar story to game 4, with Maxu scoring first for the Gladiators, then DeToNator scoring 4 unanswered goals in a row. With 28 seconds left in the game, it looked like DeToNators could actually pull it off, until the Gladiators started knocking on the door, scoring 2 quick goals, making it a 1-goal game with 20 seconds left. The intensity amplified, with both teams scrambling on both sides till zeros hit the clock when the Gladiators were trying to keep the ball up when it finally happened.
Keep this one up, which
Surely.
they cannot. Meekan adds 1 to the tally, and DeToNator send themselves to the grand finals of the APAC major qualifiers.
A team that wasn't supposed to be here now sits 1 best-of-7 series away from going to the winter major in LA. But this would definitely be the most difficult challenge for them, because they're going up against a team that they failed to beat all season long, have LAN experience to back them, and get a 1-game advantage because they are coming from the upper bracket. Is this where the road ends for DeToNator, or will they take down the Kings of APAC? Game 2 starts with Tokyo Verde scoring right away from Realize in the first 8 seconds of the match. Though this lead would last for almost 4 minutes, DeToNator's constant pressure would soon crack down on Tokyo Verde as they scored with nearly a minute left in the game. This would head to overtime. After nearly a minute of overtime, Tokyo Verde gave DeToNator too much space, with Mikan and Olpix connecting on this passing play to seal the first game of the series. In Game 3, DeToNator would continue their dominance on offense with a goal from an insane sidewall read from Burn. But like the last game, a response was due when Realize went messy on DeToNator to tie the game with 46 seconds left, causing overtime and the win from Realize only 13 seconds into it. Now in Game 4, it was a stalemate for the first 4 minutes of the game, before DeToNator capitalized off of an overcommit from Tokyo Verde, leading to a goal from Olpix. Tokyo Verde would respond immediately with a double commit in the corner from DeToNator, tying the game. Then with 16 seconds left, Burn finds Mikan to give DeToNator the lead and the win to tie the series. Going into Game 5, once again, the game was mostly played on the blue side because DeToNator's pressure was too much for Tokyo Verde to handle, leading to all three players connecting on a passing play to give them the lead with 3 minutes and 22 left. They would hold this lead for the entirety of the game, giving them a lead in the series and are one win away from making it to LA. But of course, this would not come easy for DeToNator, as in Game 6, compared to Game 5, was completely reversed, with Tokyo Verde giving most of the pressure, with Realize scoring a 3v1 with 2 minutes and 34 left in the match. They would hold this lead to force Game 7, sending us to the place where dreams are fulfilled and nightmares are made. It's Champions Field. Game 7, before getting into it, was definitely one of the most sloppy series I've ever seen because of the pressure that was felt on both sides. The winner go home mentality was really at full swing for both of these teams. And it starts with Conra scoring in the first 6 seconds from a bad kickoff and a double commit from Burn and Olpix. Then 8 seconds later, DeToNator would respond with Olpix the leading half of Tokyo Verde, giving Burn an easy window to score and tie the game. 16 seconds later, Realize would go for a bump play with no boost, giving Tenhao the ball and scoring, giving Tokyo Verde the lead. After those 30 seconds of chaos, at the 3 minute and 48 second mark, Mikan would pop the ball up to set up an air dribble when Burn would come in clutch to bump Tenhao out of the way, giving Mikan the goal, tying the game with 3 minutes and 44 left. Then with under 3 minutes left, Realize would get a pass from Tenhao, dissecting the horribly structured defense to give Tokyo Verde the lead. Then on the ensuing kickoff, the ball would pop up in the air with Burn and Tenhao going up for it, with Tenhao backflipping, giving Burn the open net to tie the game again. Then once again on the ensuing kickoff, DeToNator had the chance to score when Burn smacked the ball on the blue corner, leaving the ball for Mikan to hit a bar down shot to give DeToNator the lead in the final game of the qualifier. If they can hold this lead for 2 minutes and 42 seconds, they would qualify for LA. As the time started to run down, it became more and more apparent that DeToNator would actually pull this off, having 10 total shots compared to 3 from Tokyo Verde. And then it finally happened.
Themselves to Los Angeles, and they do it! DeToNator are your A-Pack team going to the Winter Major!
ナイスえこれそういうこと
Let's go!
えそういうこと
マジ
え本当に
Nice!
本当にえマジでやばえ本当にやってる
They did the unthinkable. They've beat every single team in the APAC qualifier without even qualifying for the event in the first place. Now with this performance, some of you may ask, how did they actually do in the Winter Major that they, qualified for? Well, to the surprise of no one, they sucked. In fact, they didn't win a single series in their group stage matches. But they did do something that no other APAC team has managed to do up to that point. And that was win a game in a series. And their one win of the entire tournament came in Game 2 against the team that always got fourth, everybody's favorite org, FaZe.
To Game 2 at Forbidden Temple. And we'll see if anything changes.
Oh, there
An
it is.
open net, and Burn puts it in. The leading scorer coming into this LAN has done it again.
Well, and I love
Out of the corner.
There it is.
That's free for Mikan. And we're tied at 2.
Make sure they don't commit too hard on offense as the pass is in. The backboard's clear. And Burn is up and tucks it underneath. And DeToNator take the late lead in game number 2.
Could that be the goal from Minamigawa-san, who puts DeToNator up in the series, or at least on the left? DeToNator closing in on a historic moment in LA. One more trip down the field, and Burn swats this down. Need to get it to the ground, and they do! DeToNator ties the series!
And you saw a look of shock, you saw a look of disbelief, and